don't know, like at the end of the day, I just felt so silly. Because I never could have thought that like that would happen to me. Hey guys, it's Kayla. Welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, this is the first video you're watching. Welcome. How y'all doing today? So you guys, as you see by the title, I am here to explain what happened with the property that I was purchasing. I have my tissue here just in case I get emotional, because this whole process has just taken a large toll on me, and I really wouldn't wish this on anybody. So I want to make sure that I explain everything thoroughly so that if you are looking to buy a home or you've gone through this process before, you can avoid some of the mistakes that I made during this process. So with that being said, okay, let's just go ahead and get into it. My journey began on April 15th when I saw the house that I felt like was meant for me. It was the house of my dreams, and I knew right then and there on April 15th that I wanted this house. April 16th, we put an offer in on the home, and we offered full price. The full price was $160,000, and we requested that the seller pay 3.5% closing cost. We put in the offer on April 16th, and we didn't hear back from the seller about the property until I want to say April 21st or April 20th, I want to say. I'll have some of the screenshots up so you guys can see what's going on. And before I put in the offer on the home, I did have some concerns. I will show a couple pictures. Some of the there was just things that needed to be done, and in the listing the seller did not say that the home was being sold as is and that they weren't willing to make repairs. So I wanted to know if they still were in the process of doing these things, or basically what was going on. So before I made my full price offer, my realtor asked the seller if they were going to fix the windows in the shed, if they were going to put in carpet in this room, and if the full house was wired for HVAC, central air and cooling, because we noticed that some of the rooms had window units. So like the main room, the living room had a window unit, and then one of the bedrooms had a window unit on the floor. And so the seller's agent wrote my realtor back and was like, yeah, the seller wasn't planning to take care of the shed window and the carpet. However, she will do that, and there is HVAC or air conditioning in the entire home. Knowing the information, I made the full price offer of $160,000, requesting that the seller pay 3.5% of those closing costs. We heard back from them, I want to say, like I had mentioned before, I think it was like April 20th or the 21st, and the seller did not want to pay 3.5% of the closing costs, which would have been around $4,000, I think. And all she was willing to pay for closing costs was $2,500. And I'm like, oh my gosh, the standard is that the seller pays 3% closing costs. This lady wanted to pay way below 3%. I'm like, wow, okay, we're giving you a full price offer, and you know what I mean, that's halfway. But at the time I was like, okay, whatever. I'm getting assistance with this house, so let me explain that too. I live in Georgia, so they have a program called Georgia Dream, and if you live in a community that has been hardest hit, like a hardest hit community, then they give you $15,000 to buy a home, and that $15,000 can go towards your down payment and your closing costs. So knowing that I was getting some assistance, I took all of that into consideration. So with the seller's contribution, I basically would be getting $17,500 in closing costs and down payment assistance for this home. So I was like, okay, whatever. It's a big blessing that I'm even qualifying for the Georgia Dream program, because the home happened to be in one of the hardest hit neighborhoods. So I was like, okay, whatever, that's fine. So we sign all the agreements. I sign off on it. They sign off on it. We both agreed to the $2,500 closing costs. Everything seems good. So what's next in the process is the inspection. This is where things got really frustrating. Usually for the inspection, the seller will make sure all the utilities are on so that you can go in and do a full analysis of the home. At the time, I had scheduled an inspection, I believe like the upcoming Thursday, and like right after we all signed off on the agreements. And the seller wrote back saying, well, you have to reschedule and hold off because the gas has not been turned on yet in the home. I'm like, okay, bummer. Well, I'm sure that only take like a day. So hopefully the next day we can get the inspection. Call my inspector. He's like, oh yeah, cool, no problem, da da da. And so it went like 2 weeks, you guys. 2 weeks that the seller did not have the gas turned on. And in addition to that, she wrote my realtor saying, come to find out that there was not HVAC in the entire home. And so they were trying to get that fixed also, while they were also trying to get the gas turned on. And I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, come on. Just be transparent. That's all we're asking for, is transparency, honesty, and don't waste people's time. So my lender at that time, he had already done the appraisal before the inspection, and that's where communication is super important. So he ended up doing the appraiser ended up, doing the appraisal on the home, which cost me $450. And that's not money you can get back. So, oh, and let's talk more about money. So I also had to put down $1,000 in earnest money at the time that the seller accepted my offer. So I already have $1,000 in the pot. Now the appraiser has already done the appraisal before my inspection. That's $450 right there. And then the inspection was gonna be $300. So I was like, wow, like why would y'all do the appraisal? And I haven't even inspected the property. I haven't even really seen if this is something that I fully want to get into, weighing all the pros and cons and this, that, and that. But I guess the lender, they assumed that since it had been 2 weeks, because usually you get the inspection like within the first week or the first 3 days of, you signing the agreements, but that wasn't the case for me because the utilities weren't on. So at that point, everybody was upset. My lender, my realtor, me, because we're waiting to hear back from these people and they're not updating us. And so after the appraisal was done, the seller's agent came back and said, oh yeah, the gas has been turned on. Everything's good to go. You guys can get the inspection now. Oh, but there's still no HVAC in the home. They're still working on that. So anyway, I really like this house. So we moved on with the inspection, and through the inspection report, there were so many things wrong with this house. I mean, from rotting wood, lead-based paint, what else was there? Electrical issues, all of the outlets, they weren't ground wired. Some of the gas lines weren't properly sealed off. The hot water heater wasn't working, so there was no hot water. And there were some other things. I will show a couple pictures of the report here, and you guys can just look at it. So there were a lot of things that were wrong with this house, but I was going to be buying a home that was 100 years old. This house was built in 1920 or 1922, so it's an older home, and usually with an older home you expect to have some issues, right? And you also expect the seller to be just a little bit flexible with the big ticket items that might need to be addressed, like the safety issues. The home has some safety issues, and then let's talk about it. So we shared the report with the seller, trying to see if she would be willing to give us some concessions now, based upon the fact that a lot of the information in the listing was false. One being that there was no HVAC all of a sudden, and And let me be clear about that. There was no HVAC in the living room and the laundry room, which were the 2 new rooms that they added on to this home. So there was no HVAC in there. I wanted some money taken off of the list price for that. And also, one of the big things that I wanted taken off was the water heater, like replacing that, because my inspector said that it was on its last leg. So I wanted a new water heater. And there was one other big thing. Oh, the paint, the lead-based paint on the outside of the home. It was encapsulated, but you could easily pick it off and it could become a problem in the future. Let's say if I have kids or something and they go around messing with that, it could be a whole big thing. So those were the 3 main issues I want to say, amongst other things that we wanted the seller to kind of work with us with and try to see if she would be willing to, you know, come around and reduce that sales price so that when I buy this home, I still have some money to make the repairs. It took her, I want to say, a week to get back with my realtor. And she said that, you know, they still were going to repair the windows and the carpet and what else was it? Oh yeah, they were going to repair the windows and the carpet like they said they would, but they weren't willing to take any money off of the list price so that I could fix the HVAC, the water heater, and the paint issues that the house had, amongst other things. Those are just the big things. So I was like, okay, well, what is going on? Y'all aren't really trying to meet me halfway anywhere. You say you're gonna do this work on the windows and the carpet, but it's been 4 weeks now and you haven't started doing anything yet. And at this point, my loan is on pause because I'm still trying to figure out if I am going to even move forward with this house. I already know I've invested, at this point, almost $2,000 into the process, but it was just becoming a headache. So around May 11th, I was texting my realtor and I was letting her know, like, this is extremely frustrating. I don't think they are being truthful about the repairs that they are gonna do. And I just wish if they didn't want to do the repairs, they would say up front, like, look, we're not willing to do the repairs, and you know, we do know there's things that are wrong with the house, but we're just not willing to do anything. Like, just say that. Stop beating around the bush. They went and asked us for quotes okay, so we wanted them to take off money for those big ticket items. So I priced a water heater and installation costs, and I sent that to them. I drafted also, the paint company came out to look at the house to give me a quote on how much it would cost to remove the lead-based paint and do the scraping and things like that. That was like $5,000, y'all. And then we got a quote for the HVAC repairs. They wanted to see all of that to justify why they should bring down the price. And even after giving them all of those documents from reputable companies, they were not willing to come down on the price. And so I was so over it. This was like May 11th. They wasted so much of my time. I was really over it at that point, and I was going to give up and move on and not get the house. But I spoke with my lender and we had a conversation. And I also realized how much money I had put into it so far and how close I was. And I did not want to go through this process again. And I also still really did like the house. I just did not like the people who were selling it, honestly. So the seller said that after I threatened to walk away, the seller, actually, I more than threatened. Okay, I'll let y'all know. I wrote a bad review on the seller, the agent who was selling the house, on her page, just really explaining like what had happened and all this and that, and how with me being a first-time home buyer, it was unfair to me that they were taking so long, dragging their feet, and not being transparent about the things that were going on in the home. So after that happened, the seller came around and was like, well, here's what we can do. We'll offer $4,000 off of the list price. That's the most we can do. And I'm just like, okay. Oh, and they were going to offer $4,000 and they weren't going to do the carpet or the window anymore in the shed. I'm just like, $4,000. I sent you all these quotes from reputable companies. It was way more than $4,000. You guys, it was more like 11 grand for all of the repairs. Like doing the HVAC was really expensive, the paint was expensive, and the water heater installation, like big ticket items. So where they got $4,000 from, I don't know. But I was just like, you know what? Whatever. Give me the $4,000, lower the list price, let's keep moving. And do I regret that? At the time, no, I didn't. But looking back on it now, I realized that I overlooked a lot of things just because I really wanted the house, and I really wanted to be a home buyer, and I really wanted a house that was that older traditional style. And so I overlooked a lot of things despite how frustrated I got, because I had this vision in my head of what my house was gonna look like, and I had already started thinking of how I was gonna transform the space. Like I was already super invested emotionally, so it was hard for me to think more so logically about what was going on. Like even though I knew it didn't make sense, like my heart still really wanted the house. So I was like, okay, whatever, we'll take the $4,000. So that lowered the asking price to $156,000. And now we were finally able to do all of the loan paperwork where I sign off on everything and we get like the numbers and all that good stuff, which takes time too. So that took about 2 weeks, I want to say. 2 or 3 weeks actually. My original closing date was supposed to be June 4th, but after all this drama, it got pushed back to June 17th. So everything was looking good up until June 16th. And on June 16th, excuse me, on June 16th, I get a call from my lender. He's like, did you know that the seller had a title bond on the property? And I'm just like, what? No. So apparently she had a $10,000? I don't know. It was some ridiculous amount of money that she had, a property bond. She had that on the home. And so you like when someone goes to jail, you can like put up your property and as collateral. So that's what she did with the property that I was getting. And I guess she didn't think to tell us the day before closing that like, hey, this is something I might need to take care of. Like, I'm not sure if she didn't think like that my attorney who handles the title, that he wasn't gonna look and check and see that this is on the property, and they wouldn't even allow me to buy it with the bond being on it from the seller. So the day before closing, they were working really hard to get that all removed off of the property, and it was just another stressful thing. But the biggest thing, and the reason why I'm not getting the house anymore wasn't for any of those reasons. It's for this one that I'm about to share with you right now. So also on May 16th, the day before my closing, my lender, and his people, the underwriter processor people, they did a verification check of like everything that I submitted, just everything, right? And so when they did the verification check, they saw that I was no longer employed, which was true. My contract ended for my job on May 22nd, but I still get paid with I'm a teacher, so I still get paid with them until August 15th. But, okay, how do I explain this? The fact that I no longer had employment was all that mattered to them. It didn't matter that I was still getting paid until August 15th. It didn't matter that my credit scores are phenomenal. It didn't matter that, you know, I had reserves to pay off the house until, you know, or to pay my mortgage until I got another paycheck, or it just didn't matter to them at all. And I tried everything. So what my lender was saying, well, if you can get another job, which I was planning to do, but I just was dragging my feet on it a little bit. He's like, well, if you can get another job, you can show us a contract letter saying that you will be employed within the next 60 days, have my salary and the start date. We can keep the process going. So I'm already crying my eyes out. I get dressed, I go up to one of the school boards and I try to see if I can get a job right there on the spot. No one was there because of COVID-19, and I was able to get an email though. So I emailed the lady asking her like, what is the process like in terms of hiring, because I really need a job and I need one today. And yeah, so she was like, well, you have to contact principals and all this and that. So you guys, I found a job the day before my closing. I talked to a principal, I interviewed with him, I was hired on the spot. I'm like, yes, okay, boom. So I got that done. I was like, now I just need this contract letter. So I was put in contact with a lot of different people, and I sent probably over 50 emails because I was desperate. I was emailing everybody. I was letting them know the situation, like, hey, I really need this letter. And I was getting turned down by a lot of people, like, oh no, we don't do that in our county. You just have to wait till you get your official contract. We don't offer any forms of paperwork that say you have that you are in the process of being hired, which is all I needed at the time. So I still am persistent, and I'm still communicating with people, and finally I get in touch with someone in the compensation department of my county, and they finally give me a letter. And so I received that letter on May 18th, the day after my closing was scheduled. And so I give that to my lender, hoping that it will be enough. It said that, you know, I was going to be hired by them. It said when I was going to start, what my salary was going to be, everything that they needed. And my principal even wrote something up that I would have a position as a second grade teacher, and this is my start date, yada, yada, yada. Everything that they said they needed, right? But because I'm getting that special assistance that I told you guys about, they were saying that I also needed a pay stub. I'm like, I'm not gonna get a pay stub until August, you guys, because it's just like, what? That pay stub won't from my future employer will not come until August. So at that point, I thought it was donezo. Like, I'm just not getting the house. Nothing's gonna, like, it's just not in the cards to me. And I was crying my eyes out from May 16th up until that Thursday for like 2 or 3 days. I was just crying my eyes out and super sad and just feeling really embarrassed, and also feeling a little dumb that I didn't know that I needed to keep my job before going, you know, up until the very last moment that I closed on my home. And yeah, I felt a lot of different things. I felt a lot of regret also. But so I submitted the offer letter from my future job saying that I would be employed. And like I said, they said that they needed the pay stub as well, which I wouldn't have until August. So now my realtor, my lender, had to contact the seller to see if they would be willing to wait until August. I think I got my paycheck, my first paycheck would come August 14th, and my last paycheck from my old job would come August 15th. I wouldn't miss a beat, but they did not care. They just wanted it to say that I had employment at the time of closing. So I was willing to wait, like, okay, like, cool, I guess that's a little further away than I expected, but that's fine. With the circumstances, I had no other choice. So now everything was just kind of in the seller's hands, and I'm sure you guys are probably already guessing that based on the interactions we had before, that they would kind of drag their feet with this situation. And of course they did. At first they were okay with waiting, and then the day after they weren't okay anymore. They were like, well, we're just gonna rent out the property instead. I was like, well, rent it to me because I really want this house. And it was like, no, we never rent it to the buyer because, you know, you could get in there and see a lot of extra other things that are wrong with it and then decide you don't want it at all, and that's just a big risk for us. I'm like, I already know a lot of the problems with this house already, and I was still crazy enough to still want to buy it. So that whole thing being a risk was just dumb in my eyes. But from a more business standpoint, I guess I could understand. From a personal standpoint, I was just like, what? Like, come on. So they didn't want to do that. So we offered them some concessions. So now we were saying that, you know, instead of the seller paying closing costs, she wouldn't have to pay any closing costs. And I'd also put up more earnest money to show that I had good faith in pursuing this property and closing on the home in August. So after we offered them the concessions, they were like, yeah, like, that sounds good. we're definitely going to move forward, and I'm getting all excited and things like that. I'm like, yes, but nothing is set in stone, you guys, until you have their name signed on the dotted line. Nothing is set in stone. So they come back 2 days later after saying they would accept the seller not paying any closing costs and me putting up more money, saying that they decided that they just don't want to move on altogether at all anymore, and that they are really firm about renting the property out to someone else and just not selling it anymore in general. And I'm just like, well, that doesn't make any sense to me, but whatever. And then I just proceeded to cry my eyes out even more. I don't have many dreams. Sorry, y'all. Okay. I don't have many dreams. I have like 3 things that I want for myself within my life. And being a homeowner and having like my dream house, this was very close to it. Those are the, that was just one of the things I really wanted in life. And with being so close to having it, like the day before I close and I sign, just to have it like ripped away from me, it was really one of the hardest things. It was one of the hardest things. I don't know if like I've ever been invested in something so much, dreamed about something so much as I did about like that, at that house, about that house at this time in my life. Like for the past 3 months, like that was one of the big things that I thought about. That was one of the things I was like really happy and excited for. And you guys know it. Y'all saw the videos of me telling you guys about it and shopping for it and buying a couch and just doing a lot of those things. I had even went as far as picking out like paint colors for the home and letting all my friends and family know, letting y'all know. And I don't know, like at the end of the day, I just felt so silly because I never could have thought that like that would happen to me. And like it would just be taken from me like that. I never would have thought. So that is pretty much what happened from start to finish. And in the end, despite everything that I overlooked, they weren't willing to be compassionate towards me and my situation. Like no one was willing to, despite, I mean, not even like the seller, but even my lender, they weren't willing to make an exception. No matter how much more money I offered or anything, they didn't care. It's like nobody cared. it's just a harsh lesson. It really is a harsh lesson. I want to say like, oh, I'm thankful for this experience and I've learned so much, and it's true that I have, but what's also true is that it hurts. Oh gosh, I really want to stop crying. So what's next? I don't know. The next thing for me, I guess, would just be trying to find another home, keeping my options open, really just deciding and thinking about, you know, what I want to do next. So that's where I'm at right now. I haven't exactly gone to look at other properties or anything. I've looked at things on the internet. I actually was looking at manufactured and mobile homes, modular homes as well. I looked into a little bit like buying my own land, building my own dream house, things like that. But with doing those things, you have to also have the money to do it. And so I don't have like the money to just go out and build my dream house and buy a big piece of land. So I'm just gonna have to get back on the hunt and try to find another property. And just trying to make the best of the situation, as tough as it is. And that's that, you guys. I wish things were different, but I'm also trying to be patient in this process, and I'm also trying to can't even think of the word right now, but trust, and also have trust in God through it all. And that's that, y'all. Ooh, this video is long, so if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. You are a true supporter, and thank you guys so much for subscribing to me. At this time, I'm so close to 1,000 subbies, so I said that by the end of the summer, that was my goal, to have at least 1,000 subbies. And so you guys, we are killing it. It makes me so happy. Doing this on YouTube is so fun for me. And in my dark times, this is definitely something that brings me a lot of joy and peace. So I'm going to continue doing this. And what will you see next from me? Probably some house hunting vlogs again, because we got to get back on the hunt, y'all. I can't let this keep me down for too much longer. I gotta get right back out there and find something just as great. So thanks for rocking with me, y'all. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. Make sure you like this video, and then also comment down below just whatever you want to say, just any advice for me. If you went through something similar, maybe you could share that with me and with everybody else who reads the comments. And that's pretty much it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.